and we're gonna watch ILTw and his farming patterns and fighting patterns in order to stomp. This is a game where he ends up going really hard. Like, it's quite a short game, 25 minutes and 15 seconds. He goes 11-1. And what I really like about this game is he gets a lot of kills. It's one of those games where, yeah, I mean, it does take him a little bit to get the kill, right? He gets his first kill around 5 minutes. But all in all, at the 11-minute mark, he has 4 kills and ends the game 11-1. And I got a question recently, like, Speed, how good is LUNa? And so that's what this video is about. It's another carry hero that you can pick, put into your arsenal, right? And hopefully stomp with. And this video is going to give you a really clear goal, real items. First things first, he has a Lucent Beam at level 1. You might be saying, oh, but wouldn't you want Lunar Blessing? I just think the 5 damage is honestly underwhelming. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, LUNa's actually has a 55% win rate on Dota 2 Pro Tracker, which is why I was more inclined to make this video. But what I was going to say is, if this hero had a lower win rate, I would really expect them to buff this to like 10 at level 1. Because honestly, 5 just seems kind of underwhelming to me. It's not nothing. You know, it's definitely not nothing. But it's not like insane, right? It's not 10 where it's like, oh, okay, I'll take that at level 1. So definitely take the beam at level 1, right? Pretty low mana, good damage. It just lets you secure range creeps. That's the main thing. The second thing that's funny, we'll get into the items in a second, but he's actually laning with a storm, which is just, that's so funny. But yeah, he's laning with a storm. We'll see how they execute on it. You might be saying, there's no way he can win the lane. He's against a Viper. He's against Viper and has a storm support. But that's the thing, guys. In high-mar games, they understand no matter what their heroes are, and no matter what the matchup is, if they execute on it properly, they can still win the lane. And so let's talk about that. Alright, so first things first, the item build, right? The item build. 6 tangos, a branch, slippers, circlet, and a fairy fire. This ability should just go basically every game. You honestly don't need to switch it up at all. It gives you a decent amount of mana, enough right-click, ton of tangos because your hero's pretty squishy, gets harassed a lot, right? Low attack range, so this is just a build you should go every game. It's a nice balance between sustain and right-click. Then, the first play we see of the game, they immediately go for this range creep. Why? You might be saying, Speed, this is gonna push the lane! These guys are such noobs! No, get this concept out of your head, guys. I see this all the time. I even have to coach my students. It doesn't matter if you push the lane, in this case, okay? Now, let's say you're a solo hero against a tri-lane. You probably don't want to push the lane, because if you push the lane, not only are you not going to be able to pull, you're not going to be able to get any CS. It's a disaster. But in this case, the storm can go pull. So what is the benefit of pushing the lane? You might be saying, who cares? Why do you need to pull if you can just keep the lane back? Not only does pulling allow Storm to get XP solo and LUNa to get XP solo, it also allows them to trade in this short period of time. When the range creep dies, you can trade. The range creep does a lot of damage. It's basically like having a third hero in lane. So if it dies, you can trade. That's largely how Dota works in the early game, and you'll see that's why they're constantly fighting and pushing in the range creep. Yeah, that's what they do here. Now, unfortunately, they're against the Vipers, so obviously it doesn't end up really doing anything, but I still wanted to make sure you guys understand that concept and show that shoving a lane is good. You can even see here from the Viper, it causes the LUNa to miss 2 CS and be forced to eat 2 tangos immediately, which is quite good. That's why, you know, this Viper strat might seem like a complete joke and a meme, but it's not. The LUNa has to CS on her tower constantly and even misses a bunch of CS, which is hilarious. So, the next thing I want to talk about is how they actually end up winning this lane. You might be saying, Speed, this lane looks like it's going pretty horrible. Well, what should we talk about? Why are they running at Viper, okay? We're 1 minute and 40 seconds in here. Why are they running at Viper? Okay, a lot of people would say, you don't want to do that. This hero's really strong. It just turns and slows you. And, well, Viper, what does he have at level 2? If he has another Toxin at level 1, it means he doesn't have his E at level 2, right? And because of that, you want to go aggressive on him. Viper is extremely bad at level 2, especially if he doesn't have Corrosive. He's horrible at trading. The hero, literally, look at it. It is like the slowest movement speed in the game. It can't run away. It has 2 armor, which is horrible. No damage. It generally buys items like this, which are not bad for trading, but not great. So what I'm saying is go hit him. If you can, go hit him. He's off the creep wave here. They can go hit him. There's no creeps. They're not missing anything under tower, so they're gonna go hit him. Even Storm here, look at this, okay? I know this is not LUNa specific, but I think it's still important. It's a good Dota tip. As they walk over here, you're gonna see him just start to literally straight up trade with the Viper. Seems bizarre, right? But this is the case. Even though this matchup is technically really bad, the Storm Spirit, being the high armor player that he is, ranked 400, understands that Viper Poison attack at level 1 is pretty doo-doo. It's not good. So even though he has 5 stacked constantly, the Stormer can man up, right? And LUNa, being the good player that he is, understands, okay, Storm isn't going to die that fast, contrary to popular belief. I can shift over, and they end up getting first blood. Now, the LUNa doesn't get it, but obviously that's still a huge win. They get first blood for the Storm. He's going to be able to buy up a lot of items as well, and the LUNa is going to get free XP. On top of that, the next thing I'd like to say is if you're having free farm and it's a very static lane, it's fine to take your E at level 2. It gives you 10 extra damage, and so yeah, if it's a CS battle with very little trading, take your E. If it's very trade heavy, like it will be against the Viper, you're going to want to take your Q. Next up, let's take a look at just a little bit more game sense, then we'll get into very LUNa specific stuff afterwards. But, I mean, I still would like to note he's maxing out his Q. Clearly wants to try to win the lane. Anytime you get off to a good start like this, yeah, it makes sense to take your Q. Then when you hit level 6, you actually have a lot of kill potential. I mean, even early on into the game, right? So a very low cooldown nuke, not too bad on mana. It's a bit tough for LUNa, you can see he's even shipping out of clarity here. But yeah, just gonna man up, and they're gonna go for a kill. This is it's one of those games where you might be saying, you know, he's getting Tusk ganks. They were winning the lane before the Tusk games, but even then, whenever you're playing against the Viper, what do you know? The Viper's gonna go aggressive, he's gonna play ultra aggressive, often play far up, and the hero has no disengage. So heroes like Tusk and Earth Spirit are very hard counters to Viper in general, right? In general, Tusk is a very hard counter to Viper, primarily because of the physical damage, which is generally the counter to Viper, you know, in the early game, and gap close. So the next thing to consider on LUNa is nighttime. Your hero is one of the best nighttime heroes in the game. Why is that? Lunar Blessing. It gives you night vision, right? Another reason why I feel like it is good to take 2 points in this early on, especially if you're not trading too hard, is it actually doubles, right? The night vision doubles from 250 to 500, so it's quite significant. But let's not focus too much on that. Let's get into the actual reason, right? The night vision. You get a lot of night vision, so basically you see people coming. And LUNa is very much about seeing people coming, because if you see them coming, you can hide behind a tree, and then the goal with Eclipse is to catch them off guard. You want to use it when they're in melee range. If you use it when they're max range, they're probably going to get out of it, right? Now in this case, you're going to see a Tusk gank, which is obviously optimal as well, but you can see he's very much playing around the vision here. He knows he can see Bane, partially because of a ward, but also he has the night vision advantage here. And yeah, they can lead into this Viper, switches to the intreads as well. They can pop the ult and easily get the kill, no problem. And that's what you want to do, right? Whenever you're going this max Eclipse build, you want to call over your gank hero, whatever it is, any hero that has any sort of gap close, call them over, or play it around vision, right? Play around a ward, sneak up on someone, wait on a high ground, whatever it is, make a play. I don't care, honestly, I don't even care what it is. Learn to make the plays. Learn to play around the night vision. Learn to take advantage of it. Also, you can see here, he doesn't have Eclipse. He bought a Morbid Mask. He's level 8 now, has 2 points in his W, and he's actually just straight up jungling. Please do this, guys. Like, most of the time, actually a lot of the time, especially if you're not very competent on winning the lane yet, or your support isn't synergizing with you, or whatever it is, you're not going to have like some god lane, and so it's very important you get these items, right? Your treads, your Wraith Band, your Morbid Mask, and you just head into the jungle. LUNa, especially when she doesn't have her ulti, against a lot of offlaners who scale well with levels, especially like a Viper, can just die a lot. Upcoming here, let's discuss a very well-played fight by ILTw in the early game. Anytime you max your Q, it's very reasonable to fight, right? Your hero's actually extremely good at fighting, like a 6-second nuke that does 300 damage is obviously very good. So in the early game here, let's take a look at this fight. So as he gets gone on, he ends up getting gripped. Good TP by his Storm to actually cancel out this TP. Gets the beam onto the Earthshaker, follows it up with the right clicks, right? You can get a couple of right clicks in during the mini stun, and he's not going to run away. The important thing to understand on LUNa in the early game is you really want to play the edges of the fight. No matter how low you get, Lucent Beam has a very nice cast range, and because of that, he's able to stick around and actually get a double kill. On top of that, it doesn't end there. He's able to follow up here. The Viper gets controlled. He's able to pop his ulti, gets a couple beams onto the Viper, picks up a kill, and TP's out. In terms of skill build, let's take a quick look. He actually skips his talent number 1. I know it's not skill build, alright, I know! But, he skips his talent at level 10. You might be saying, why? I mean, they're not bad. They're actually both quite good. Attack speed and cast range. I think he just understands how valuable the Moonglaves is. Not only does it reduce the damage per bounce, which is huge, it also increases the bounces, so that's a big deal. Right, it's just better than the talents at this point of the game. However, the talents are good, you do want to take them eventually. You might be saying, why take Moonglaves over Lunar Blessing? He must have done the math, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't done the math. I don't know which one's technically faster at farming. I'm just gonna take ILTw's word and say that the Moonglaves must be better for farming, and frankly, it makes sense. It reduces the damage per bounces, and gives you more bounces, so it's probably better than 10 damage. But definitely be very curious on how he's fighting this much, you know? It makes sense. His build, it fights. He even bought a Dragonlance. Dragonlance is one of those heroes you buy on ranged heroes if you plan on fighting in the early game. It's like Drow and SF. If you buy it, you're probably going to want to show up to fights. It gives incredible stats, and range in the early game is absurdly valuable. And yeah, in this fight here, it pops his ultimate, leads him with his Q, picks up some kills. On top of that, he actually skipped his ultimate again at level 11. I'll let you guys know when he takes it. I really love this next engagement here, and so even though it's a bit redundant to what we've been talking about, I still want to discuss it. As they go in this Wraith King here, this is a very well-played fight, right? Once again, using the night vision. I mean, this is mostly the ward, but as they go in here, he's going to lead in with his beam, gets the mini stun, puts it on cooldown, right? You just want to make sure you can use as many as possible. Goes in here, understands that he doesn't want to commit to this kill, and this is where the night vision definitely comes into play. Even if these creeps were to give vision here of this Bane TP, him himself, he can see like way past the tier 1, right? You basically have daytime vision, and it's incredibly valuable for making dangerous plays like this. And so yeah, they see the TP's coming, they're back up, and look where he's pinging, right? And he's like, bait them, bait them, bait them, bait them, bait them. As long as you bait people into areas with no vision, it's likely a good fight. That's what they do here. Honestly, I can't believe they even decided to walk in here. It genuinely shocks me. Like, I guess Bane wanted to just force the Eclipse, but yeah, never. It's like chasing a techies. Don't chase LUNa into no vision, and vice versa. If you're playing LUNa, tell your teammates to bait them into areas of no vision, and you'll just kill them. But yeah, whenever Eclipse is on cooldown, back to farming, baby. And yeah, this is kind of how you want to play this hero. If you have Eclipse, smoke. Tell your team, hey, smoke, I'm strong. Go in an area with a ward, or, you know, in an area where you can abuse the night vision into a jungle area. Get a kill with Eclipse, maybe 1, maybe 2, and then go back to farming. And you want to rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. If you keep fighting with no Eclipse, you're going to feed. Your hero is really not that strong. Your attack range is quite limited, even with a Dragonlance, and so it's very crucial that you do not force the fights without Eclipse. Can you defend towers without Eclipse? Yes, but that is the only exception. Only exception. And yeah, funny enough, this game only ends up going for another 5 minutes. but I just love how he plays this game. It's a difficult playstyle, I'll be honest. Learning to dominate the lane, you know, when to cast your Q, when to buy clarities, how to CS while under pressure. It's difficult, but after all, the goal here at Game Leap and the goal of your boy Speed is to teach you guys how to, you know, play like pros. It's not to just how to farm. I mean, as much as that is useful and learning farming patterns is a huge portion of ILTw's LUNa here, you have to learn how to fight at some point, and it's not like you constantly fight. It's learning how to pick good fights, and you'll notice a lot of his fights this game, outside of the laning stage in the mid game, were based around Eclipse. If he had Eclipse, he would make a play. If he didn't, he would farm. And as simple as this may sound, and you might be saying, oh, Speed, this is so basic, are you kidding me? Almost no one does it. So it's like one of those things where I'm like, I feel like I have to talk about it. Now, in terms of item builds, there are different variants you can go. There's some games where you can skip BKB and you can go like Scotty, but honestly, for the most part, I'll be real. I think this is like one of those builds where you can buy it every game and it's going to feel fine. Dragonlance, Manta, BKB. There are Ags variants as well, which can be good against certain team comps. So maybe there's like a TB you really need to kill, like your team has no magical damage. You can go for an Ags and play around that vibe, but for the most part, I'm a huge fan of these BKB sort of builds. And yeah, it allows him to be a frontliner here, pops his ulti, insta-kills the Viper. And yeah, using your ulti without a BKB on LUNa can be very difficult. Your hero gets kited very easily. You know, after all, Eclipse is literally a melee range spell, essentially. So using it without a BKB is gonna be pretty hard. But yeah, that's about the end of the game. You guys know how LUNa goes when you get an advantage. You just take their racks. And so yeah, the main thing you want to learn how to do on LUNa is have a good start. Have a good lane, right? Spam your Q, use secure CS, buy clarities, buy Wraith Bands. Make sure you talk to your supports. LUNa does a lot of damage, but she dies when trying to do that damage. And that's why the Tusk ganking makes a lot of sense, and that's why I definitely respect this Tusk as a player. He understands how to optimize LUNa. So if you're playing LUNa, ask for ganks. Not necessarily from your mid all the time, but just in general. If you feel strong, you feel like you can get kills, it definitely makes sense. Your hero needs to be protected. It needs to be set up for kills. Otherwise,